Bill was looking over the documents on his desk thoughtfully. The business he and his partner operated showed encouraging financial returns. He and Samuel had been successful in starting and growing their company. They had improved their company's most complicated areas by working so hard, for so many sleepless nights, for so many months without a day off. However, they had no intention of stopping there. They understood that they needed to put in a lot of effort while they were still young and energetic. However, Bill was the type of person who began seeking out other pursuits after achieving something. He then made the decision to try his hand at opening a restaurant. He started studying business ideas and successful ventures in this field, as well as the subtleties of various national cuisines and the interiors of the top restaurants. Naturally, since he had put the majority of his money in his current company, he would not simply quit. However, Samuel proved to be a very fruitful collaboration. Additionally, since Bill hadn't recently come up with any fresh ideas, it would be appropriate to give his friend the established business in exchange for his part. Bill would launch a new company, while Samuel could continue to grow this potential enterprise. Ultimately, money is created in order to invest in something novel and get a novel financial outcome. Bill ultimately made the decision to discuss it with his spouse. "I'm a little upset about it, but to be honest, I expected it," Samuel responded after carefully listening to Bill's offer and pausing for a second. "I am aware that you cannot lead a tranquil life. You need something fresh all the time. 3 mediocre bosses would be satisfied with your diligence and effort. What will you do at this point? The restaurant industry piqued my curiosity. Right now, I'm researching this field. By the way, I'd want to know whether you know anything fascinating about managing restaurants. The restaurant industry is tremendously alluring, but it's also very dangerous. However, I am aware that you cannot envision living a risk-free existence. I'll let you know if I find any intriguing offers." Samuel stood up from the table and bid his friend farewell, but Bill merely gave him a mute nod. His fresh thought was already on his mind. Samuel was aware of his close buddy and partner's distant yet assured appearance. This expression typically appeared when he was considering a novel concept, and it signified just one thing. Bill would now be focused solely on the new objective, searching for fresh concepts, considering choices, and conceivable combinations regardless of what he was doing. How can he come up with so many ideas? I work so hard, but I can only develop the business that already exists. And Bill has a new idea again. How am I supposed to run a business on my own? Should I close the business and get a job at some big company again? No, don't even think about it, Samuel. You're not a genius, but you're not stupid. Am I envious of Bill? Maybe. But why would I envy him if I could use him instead? Very soon, Samuel prepared an interesting offer for Bill. About a week later, they had a meeting, and Samuel told him about the new commercial offer. The restaurant is located downtown. It's small but quite cozy. The building is very old, so the atmosphere is unusual and interesting. The building has been renovated recently, but you'll have to think about the interior yourself. I think it's a perfect combination of a crowded place in the heart of the city and decent customers. And the price is reasonable, but I think we can still negotiate a lower price. Remind me, what's the name of this place? Paradise. Sounds terrible. Anyway, I can change the name and the interior. The price is really affordable. I think I should go there as a customer. Let's see if I feel like I'm in a luxury restaurant. Thanks for the information. You've intrigued me. When Samuel left, Bill continued to think about the restaurant and chewed on his pencil out of habit. Is this place really as luxurious as it seems? Paradise. Why do I have a feeling that something is wrong? I don't understand what makes me suspicious. Perhaps the fact that Samuel was unhappy that I was going out of business and he offered to buy this particular restaurant so quickly. Or is it because the price seems too low? I mean, it's in the heart of the city. I don't know. All I know is that I feel like something is wrong, and my intuition never lies. But what am I supposed to do? I'm sure that outwardly the restaurant is flawless, but how do I know what's going on inside this tricky business? I think a masquerade will help me figure it all out. A random, unattractive customer has a better chance of finding out the truth about the restaurant than a person who wants to buy it. Well, no offense, Samuel, but my grandfather always told me that when you trust people, you should still check their word. The next day, a guy in shabby jeans, tattered sneakers, and a plaid shirt opened the massive door of a fancy restaurant and hesitantly headed inside. But a vigilant manager immediately blocked his way and said, "Hey, where are you going? I think you've got the wrong door. You can't even afford a cup of tea here." The guy grinned and said, "I was walking down the street and suddenly noticed how beautiful this place is, so I decided to visit this wonderful place just once in my life. I'd really, really like to see where rich people have fun and eat. But don't think too badly of me. I'm a law-abiding man. I can even take out the trash or mop the floor here. Just let me see this beauty, mister." The manager tried to be polite, but he was bad at it. "This isn't a museum. We don't offer excursions here, and we have qualified staff to do the job. This is not a museum and not an employment service, so please leave the restaurant before I call the security service." "Why are you so angry?" The guy wasn't going to leave. "Didn't your mom love you when you were a kid? I'm not going to ruin the reputation of this place. It's morning. The restaurant is empty. There are no customers, and you have the opportunity to make a person happy. I'll only be in the restaurant for 5 minutes. It won't hurt anyone. Please let me in. I'll look at everything quickly and leave." "Listen to me," the manager said angrily. "If you don't leave right now, I'll kick you out." "Wait." The kitchen worker suddenly interrupted him. "He can actually help us out. We need to take a pot off the stove and put it on the table to clean it because Mark has gone somewhere, and there are no other men in the kitchen right now. Let him in just for a minute. He will help me, and I will walk him out myself. Please, the pot is too heavy." "All right, Jonah, I will let him in, but only because you asked me to," the manager said, calming down a little. "But it has to be done very quickly, and most importantly, I don't want to see him in the restaurant lounge. If David sees him, we'll all lose our bonuses." "Come with me quickly," Jonah said and resolutely took the boy by the arm. "If you'll help me, you can look at the restaurant lounge from the kitchen." "But I don't want to look at the restaurant from the kitchen," Bill thought, following the girl. "You are very kind, sweet Jonah, and I will reward you for that when I become the owner of this place. But before I sign all the papers, I need to understand how everything works here. So, I have to install a small video camera in the corner. When I become the owner of this restaurant, I'll compensate you for all the trouble I've caused because sympathy is very valuable and rare in our cynical times." The pot in the kitchen was really heavy. Bill mentally thanked his coach, who never let him slack off at the gym. He told him that even now, in the time of total digitalization, physical strength would come in handy for a man. And he was right. Mark should be grateful to Bill because he would probably have hurt his back lifting such a heavy pot. John began to clean the pot, while Bill examined the restaurant lounge, thinking about where he could place the camera. At the same time, he considered how he could change the interior of this place. This Victorian design with bright ornaments on the walls and numerous decorations seemed too pompous to him. Although, right now, that interior was an advantage. It would be easy to hide a camera among those paintings and lamps. Finally, he found the perfect spot, a painting depicting a scene from a Shakespeare book. Not only would the lounge zone be visible from there, but also the doors from where the employees entered. Just then, the strange guy in shabby jeans suddenly walked quickly into the lounge zone and stopped in front of the painting. He started saying something quietly and stroking it with his hands. "Who the hell is this bum?" Bill heard a loud scream in the empty restaurant hall. "I guess it's David," Bill thought sadly. "Now Joanna will lose her bonus because of me." 2 security guards quickly entered, grabbed Bill by the arms, and dragged him toward the exit. But Bill remained calm. His goal had been accomplished. A small hidden camera was placed above the painting. "I hope they don't push me too hard so I don't break any bones when I fall," Bill thought. but the security officer shoved him so forcefully that he fell onto the pavement, face down. If it weren't for those exhausting workouts, the staff at this restaurant would have knocked out all my teeth by now, and I'd be going to the hospital with a broken nose, he thought, waiting for the security staff to leave. I'd better stay lying on the pavement. Let them get nervous, Bill thought. But he didn't have time to lie there for long. He heard the sound of heels tapping on the road and felt a woman's hand gently touch his shoulder. What happened? Can you stand up? A frightened Joanna stood in front of him, holding a bag in her hands. It's not that easy to kill me, Bill smiled and sat up on the pavement. I'm sorry. You will probably lose your bonus and get scolded because of me. No one will scold me. I do the work of 3 employees, and if they fire me, they'll have to hire at least 2 people. But they're greedy, and they realize it's not profitable for them. Here, take this, she continued, handing him the bag. I put some food from the restaurant menu in it for you. I think that if you had a chance to see the restaurant, you should try the food cooked there as well. With those words, Jonah turned and walked back inside. Bill remained sitting on the pavement, smiling as he watched her leave. What a wonderful girl! Would Christina risk anything for me in a difficult situation? Oh, right. He should call Christina and invite her to dinner. She was a cranky girl and loved attention, and he had almost forgotten about her because of this restaurant. Wow, Joanna gave me such a delicious cake. The dinner went splendidly. Christina was surprisingly friendly, the wine was good, and the night was warm. In the morning, a satisfied Bill continued working on his new idea, watching the footage from the camera he had installed. He was impressed with the cleanliness of the restaurant. The staff was great, attentive to customers. However, there were very few customers, especially young people. That wasn't surprising. Such an interior did not attract the younger generation. Bill would have to change the concept of the place and make it more modern. But you would be sure to keep this brilliant cake on the menu. Suddenly, he saw something that made him feel sick. He didn't want to believe his eyes. He looked closer. He wasn't wrong. Samuel and Christina were sitting at one of the tables in the restaurant, talking casually. David walked up to them and greeted the couple cheerfully. It looked like a meeting of old friends. What happened next was even more interesting. While waiting for their order, which David personally brought them, Samuel gently took Christina's hand. The girl tilted her head toward the man and began to flirt with him. Hidden cameras can reveal so many secrets, even without sound. Bill had learned so much new information. Great job, Christina, he thought bitterly. She managed to date 2 men at once. But Samuel would never agree to be someone's second lover. So, what were they up to? Bill grew nervous and couldn't concentrate. It was so cliché, an ungrateful friend and an unfaithful fiancé. He wanted to spit in their faces, fight with Samuel, and pour wine on Christina's dress. But he needed to focus. How were they trying to deceive Bill? But how could he control his emotions? Tomorrow at the office, Bill wanted to hit Samuel in the face. But he needed to pretend like he didn't know anything. The next day was very stressful for Bill. It is not difficult to communicate with a business partner in a relaxed and sincere manner. But it's not easy to hide your suspicions and disappointment. Besides, Samuel immediately began to ask about the new business. Bill, what have you decided about the restaurant? Are you ready to sign the papers, or are you still thinking? I'm still thinking, Bill replied carelessly and began scrutinizing invoices and financial reports. By the evening, he was exhausted. Luckily, Christina had gone to a party with her friends, and he wouldn't have to pretend to be calm. But it was very difficult to hide his emotions because he was not used to being deceived by the closest people, his fiancé and his friend. Samuel came home frustrated too. He realized that Bill was postponing the purchase of the restaurant, sensing deception. His intuition was excellent. It had helped him many times in difficult business situations. Or maybe Bill had seen him with Christina somewhere. This unpredictable girl never wanted to avoid places where they could meet mutual friends. She was beautiful but very cunning. Did Bill really love her, or did he have the same mixed feelings for her? Anyway, suspicion wouldn't do any good. Samuel realized he had to save the situation somehow. A few days later, Samuel invited Bill to have lunch together. You know, Christina and I recently had dinner together at a restaurant. I'm very grateful to you for treating her that way. We don't see each other very often lately, but she and I were very close when we were kids. Bill almost choked on his pizza. So, you two know each other? Why didn't you tell me about this before? Well, she's my cousin. We grew up in the same neighborhood. I didn't mention it because I didn't want personal relationships to get in the way of our business. She doesn't know you're my partner either. Christina is unpredictable and too emotional. If anything were wrong, it could ruin our business. As long as she doesn't know we are partners, she won't be able to use our friendship for her own purposes. Bill felt a lot better after that conversation. Samuel turned out to be smarter than he had expected, and Christina was really unpredictable. It was a good thing she didn't know they were business partners. Bill knew that Samuel had a cousin with whom he grew up, but her name was never mentioned in their conversations. Now, their visit to the restaurant together had a logical explanation. Bill felt great. Now, he had a lot of energy. He finally had it all figured out. Thoughts about the restaurant never left his head, but now he had no doubts. And he really missed Christina. First, he needed to talk to David. He would hardly recognize the strange man in shabby jeans in him. Bill was ready to sign the necessary papers. After that, he would invite Christina to dinner. After all, life becomes boring without a beloved woman. This time, David was very polite despite his stern appearance. He set the table in his office and offered Bill the best delicacies of the restaurant. The waitress was bringing the drinks. It was Joanna. Neither Joanna nor David recognized Bill. After negotiations, David agreed to lower the price. He and Bill shook hands and set a date for the deal. Bill happily headed for the exit, anticipating a meeting with Christina. But Joanna suddenly stopped him in the hallway and tugged him by the sleeve of his jacket, pulling him aside. Worriedly, she said, "Don't buy this restaurant, please." "Why shouldn't I buy it? I'm a kind person. I won't offend the staff." Bill tried to joke. "Exactly because you're a kind person. Don't buy it," Joanna said confidently. "David is a man with a dark past, and he's not always fair in business. Recently, a man came to visit him. I brought food and drinks and overheard part of their conversation. They talked about a way to get paid twice for the restaurant. I don't really understand the legal details, but the bottom line is this. The restaurant is insured for a huge amount of money in case of a fire or natural disaster. After you sign the papers and pay, there will be a short period of time while the paperwork is being re-registered, and the restaurant is still legally owned by the previous owner. If there's a fire during that time, he will automatically receive an insurance payment in addition to the money you paid him, but you will get nothing." "Do you often tell other people secrets?" the surprised man asked. "No," Jonah said, blushing. "You seem like a decent man. I just don't want that disgusting scumbag to trick you. I'm sorry. It was a bad joke." Bill gently shook the girl's hand. "I'm going to buy this restaurant anyway. I've already paid the deposit, but I'll never forget your help." A cold wind blew in his face, distracting him from his negative thoughts. It turned out that these people had almost managed to trick him. He had convinced himself many times that if something felt wrong in a deal, he should look for the reason. Joanna was a nice girl, very honest, and she wasn't afraid to tell the truth. That was a rare quality in people these days. Bill realized that he had to stop communicating with Samuel and Christina. It was frustrating, but there was no choice. If he continued to associate with such people, they would surely try to trick him again. His cell phone rang in his pocket. Christina's name appeared on the screen. "Hello, my love. I'm sorry, sweetheart, but I have to cancel our meeting today. I'm getting ready for a big deal that will change our lives, but I have to work all night tonight. I realize you bought a new dress and had your hair done at the beauty salon, but I really need to get ready for the deal." Well, you have a lot of friends. Go out with them. Christina, calm down. You're screaming so loudly that I can't understand what you're saying. Anyway, I'm sorry. I can't talk anymore. I'm driving. Bill disconnected the call and dialed Samuel's number, not wanting to listen to Christina's yelling. Hi, Samuel. David and I have a deal planned tomorrow. I need the rest of the money. Can you pay me my share for my part of the business today? Great. I always knew I could trust you. On the day of the deal, Bill was as calm as professional boxers before a fight. In the morning, he picked up David, and they drove together to the notary. Before they got there, Bill braked sharply, looked at David, and said, David, I know the restaurant is insured for a large sum of money. I've been warned by lawyers that in such situations, there can be manipulations involving damage to the property in order to obtain an insurance payout while the property is being re-registered. I don't suspect you of anything like that, but if you can't secure the restaurant before I become the owner, then you'd better give me back the deposit in double the amount, as it is supposed to be in such cases, because even if a single window breaks, I'll file a report with the police. So, what are we going to do? David clenched his fists, the huge veins visible on his neck. He didn't look at Bill. His sad gaze was fixed on the windshield of the car. After a moment's pause, he shuddered and said, Let's go to the notary. The restaurant will be fine. I can't pay back the double deposit right now. The next day, Bill was already working in his new office. The figure of a bronze lion, a stuffed owl, and carved backgammon boards went straight to the trash. Instead, a copy of the First Globe, a reproduction of Key's painting, and a cage with canaries appeared in his office. Then he asked for the CVs of all the restaurant staff and immersed himself in reviewing them. After lunch, Samuel showed up to congratulate his friend on the successful acquisition of the restaurant. Samuel looked a little pale. Bill asked Joanna to bring them coffee and turned to his ex-friend. Come in, have a seat. Did you come to talk about business or about something else? I actually came for advice. You know, I've never run a business on my own, and I'd like to come to you for advice sometimes. Bill didn't have time to respond to Samuel. Joanna entered the office with 2 cups of coffee, but when she saw Samuel, she flinched and almost spilled the coffee. Samuel, seeing the girl, became upset, and then a defiant look appeared on his face. I see you two know each other, Bill noted, took the coffee, let Joanna go, and turned to Samuel. Samuel, no need to make a surprised face. We will never be friends again. But tell me, why did you decide to betray me? Maybe you didn't consider me a friend, but I was your partner. I helped you solve all your problems and even offered you to buy my share of the business at a low price. If you remember, my contribution to the authorized capital was much higher than yours. And you're not even ashamed to sleep with my girlfriend, pretending she's your cousin. By the way, I found out that your cousin's name was Susie, but she died a year ago of peritonitis. Samuel's cheek began to twitch, and he sputtered his coffee. You never considered me a partner. You considered me a servant. All the achievements in our business have always belonged to you alone. You always acted like I was stupid and didn't know how to do anything. You were always the one who came up with all the ideas. We always listened to your intuition and applied your out-of-the-box solutions. Why do I even have to explain anything to you? Yes, I'm sleeping with your girlfriend, but that's all you can accuse me of. You're so arrogant. Samuel stood up abruptly, ignoring the coffee stains on his light-colored pants, and walked out of the office, slamming the door loudly. Well, I hope Christina won't come to me after finding out about this conversation. Bill thought sadly and summoned Joanna to his office again. The girl entered the office, confused and not understanding what her new boss wanted. Please have a seat, Bill said calmly. Do you mind if I ask you some questions? Ask anything you want. I don't mind, the girl replied, shrugging her shoulders. The man who was in my office just now, was he the one who discussed with David the terms of the deal you warned me about? Don't worry. This information is for personal purposes only. You have nothing to fear. This man is my former business partner. No one will know about it. It could damage the reputation of the restaurant. Yes, it was him. I have one more question. Bill paused, trying to find the right words. I apologize for being so brazen and asking about your personal life. But it seemed to me that this wasn't the first time you've seen each other. This is not just ordinary curiosity. Now I have to understand what risks I might face and which employees I can trust and which I can't. I would appreciate it if you would answer that question honestly. Yes, I used to know him. But it was a long time ago, Jonah said sadly, trying to hold back tears. But it had nothing to do with the restaurant. It was a long time ago, 8 years ago, when I was still a student. We dated for a while, but then we broke up. I hadn't seen him in years, but I immediately recognized him when he showed up at our restaurant. Thank you for your sincerity. You've helped me a lot. If this man tries to get in contact with you, offers you money, blackmails you, or intimidates you, let me know. Together, we will solve this problem. Deal? Joanna nodded silently and headed for the kitchen, swallowing her tears. Samuel, you're ruining everything around you. Bill thought angrily and began studying the restaurant's paperwork. The next few months at the restaurant were very stressful. Bill decided to change the Victorian style to a colonial style. It helped minimize the cost of changing the concept. Wallpaper was repainted in the color of dry grass. Lamps and oak chairs were donated to various institutions, and compositions with exotic plants took their place. The restaurant got rattan furniture and a huge cage with a talking parrot. Bill changed the name of the restaurant, and the first curious visitors had already shared favorable reviews with the locals about the restrained exoticism, excellent cuisine, and romantic, cozy atmosphere. Bill was constantly in the restaurant. He carefully studied all the CVs, fired unreliable employees, and then contacted recruiting agencies to find new staff. The man noticed that Jonah was willing to do any job at any time. He sympathized with the girl who had saved him from being deceived and wondered why she worked so hard. I urgently need money to pay for Andrew's surgery, she explained. He was climbing a tree with the other boys, but he fell down and broke his arm. The bone didn't heal properly, and now he's getting bullied at school all the time. The more time passes, the harder and more expensive it will be to fix it. Workday over. We need to go, Bill commanded. Where? Jonah asked, confused. I'd like to meet Andrew. Bill answered confidently. He took Joanna's hand, and they walked to the car. After stopping at a supermarket on the way, buying groceries and a red toy race car, they headed to Joanna's apartment. A boy, about 7 years old with blonde hair and piercing eyes, ran out of the room. Looking at him, Bill stopped, unable to say a word. In front of him stood a copy of Samuel, but with one difference. The boy had sincere blue eyes. Bill crouched down and handed the boy a gift. This is for you. Take it. I don't know all your hobbies yet, but I hope you like it. The boy jumped excitedly, and Bill looked at Jonah. She continued to stare at him, sadly, almost doomed. How much does the surgery cost? Bill asked. The amount Joanna named was a lot for her, but not for Bill. Okay, now listen to me. Starting tomorrow, you're on vacation. Get ready for the surgery. I'll find out where it can be done properly, and I'll pay for everything. No objections, the man said firmly. We will cure the boy. After the surgery, bring me your university diploma, and we'll find a better position for you. You've had enough of cleaning pots and pans in the kitchen. You'll be fine, I promise. Joanna stood silently, looking at Bill, tears dripping from her eyes. Those eyes reflected pain, hope, and sincere gratitude. Bill looked into those eyes, and his heart raced. Life is so unpredictable. Samuel was left with a hysterical and unfaithful girlfriend, while Bill met Samuel's beautiful, kind, and sincere ex-girlfriend. Bill walked over to Joanna and held her tightly. 6 months later, the ex-friend showed up in Bill's life again. He came to the restaurant unannounced, looking frustrated and confused. Help me out, buddy, he pleaded. I have absolutely no one to turn to. I think I messed everything up again. What happened? Bill asked calmly. I gave you everything you needed: a successful business, a beautiful woman, and experience. What have you messed up? You know, Samuel said nervously, I made a couple of bad deals, then borrowed some money for a new project, but not from a bank. Some reliable people offered more favorable conditions, but the project didn't work out either. Now I have no money to pay them back. They threatened me. They said they'd kill me. And Christina. Why do you always mess with such people? Bill replied. How much do you owe them? Samuel named the amount, and Bill was silent for a moment. It was a lot of money, but with the right approach, it could be paid back quickly. Besides, he felt sorry for Samuel. Even though he was a sneaky person, everyone deserves another chance. After a few minutes of thinking and calculating, Bill said, Okay, I'll pay your debt. But you have to give me the business we once built together. Basically, I'll buy your entire business. This way, you can start your life over again. But there's one more condition. You will never show up in my life again. Deal? Samuel nodded. Great. Schedule 2 meetings for tomorrow. One with the notary and one with your partners. Send me the information over the phone. As the door closed behind his ex-friend, Bill picked up the phone and made a call. Hi, Jonah. How are you doing? What's Andrew up to? Math homework? Great, it's an important subject. Andrew should become a famous scientist. No, I'm just kidding. You know, Jonah, let the boy get some rest and make our favorite pie for dinner. I'll get the rest of the food from the restaurant. I have a big day tomorrow, and a delicious dinner gives me extraordinary energy. I'm sure we can celebrate the end of tomorrow's day even better. I'll tell you the details at home. Kisses. Hug Andrew for me. Bill ruffled his hair and started thinking about his new business plan.